Yes, yes.
Hello. We will invite Sri Prashant Kumar Chattopadhyay, editor of সকলক, to come on the dais and take a seat. We would like to invite Srimati Kavita Srivastava to come on the dais and take a seat. Thank you, madam. We will felicitate Srimati Srivastava with some sweets and tackling issues of Kaladhani and the memento. She will be felicitated by Chandrani and Pastralekha.
ওনার হাতে ব্যথা আছে।
Now a brief introduction of Srimati Kavita Srivastava. She is an eminent social activist working against fascism and communalism. She is the main guiding force of women's movement. She is the All India President of People's Union for Civil Liberties, or PUCL. She started working in 1984, bringing women of the villages of Rajasthan at a village level platform to articulate their problems like domestic violence, payment of minimum wages, rape or widow burning under the name of Women's Development Program, in which more than 1 million women have become the stakeholders across India. Her chef d'oeuvre includes enactment of new central laws against glorification of widow burning and the Supreme Court guidelines for the prevention of sexual harassment at the workplace, both of which were initiated by the Rajasthan women's movement. She spearheaded the right to food issue to the Supreme Court in 2001, the most significant food litigation in democratic India. She is also a part of the collective effort of bringing about the nuclear disarmament and peace in South Asia and campaigning for mine clearance.
Friends, sorry, my hand, I've got a muscle tear. It's not a fracture or a frozen shoulder, and it happened suddenly, day before yesterday night, suddenly. It was late in the evening, so I was in Delhi, I couldn't go to any doctor or anything, so yesterday I went to a really good hospital, a really good doctor there in Calcutta, and they said, keep your arm in an arm pouch and take all these medicines. So I'm under the effect of drugs, as usual. Painkillers come with a lot of anesthesia, I think. But I thought I must, try my best and share some thoughts with you people, which is what this platform is. So thank you, Kaladhani, for inviting me. I'm sorry I've never heard about Kaladhani. And but I'm glad that I got to know about it when Sujit Da called me up and said that please join us for this. Then I checked out with friends, and I'm glad that I'm here, for your annual event that you do. So let me start where I've always wanted to start. I don't think any of you know, have the experience of what we have of the North. You know, you are in your own fantastic state. It is fantastic in many ways because I was here last in the month of November and this was in the aftermath of the RG car protest which only concluded recently. You know, I come from the women's movement and I have worked very hard with the violence against women movement on the streets because I come from a state where they would never even recognize something like rape or gang rape. Because rape can be understood, but grey-haired women cannot be raped. And gang rape is never heard of. You know, that was the situation when I started out with the Bhavri Devi case in 1992. It was, and we've seen many others, Nirbhaya and all. But it was fantastic to see what I saw here. And what I really found unique, yes, the case became one of national importance. Every time there's a rape, we do get very uncivilized. An uncivilized act has happened. And then we get uncivilized with hang them. And that's what happened even in the marches that the doctors took out all over the country. However, what the women's groups of Calcutta did was very good. They just shifted it out of the framework of a mere case and brought it within the framework of sexual harassment at workplace. And that was delightful because if you can take a protest and take the idea that brings you to the streets every day, at the same time creatively expand into the space of constitutional rights by listening to ordinary people and keeping the issue alive in another mode, in an everyday sense that will help women. And those are the hearings for which I came. So you had the expansion of the workspace that was done by the West Bengal women's groups, you know, bringing in sex workers, bringing in trans people, bringing in tea garden workers, and many others, farm workers and others of the informal sector. I mean, I just thought, I'm not just expanding it in terms of workspace, but also rethinking what should the mechanism be. And this is how we actually keep developing constitutional values. We keep developing our rights. We keep deepening democracy. So having glimpsed this, and if I've been asked to talk in this context of profit to peril, to talk about resistance and alternatives, where should I start? I mean, at least for us, I don't know for you, and that is why I said you just have no conception how we are living in the North. We are living in an unannounced Hindu Rashtra, a corporate Hindu Rashtra, or let's call it Hindutva corporate Rashtra, call it whatever. But definitely there is a massive attack on democracy. You've been hearing speakers, all of you are learned people, you must be reading. But the experience of it is something which is very different. The constitution is in place. They don't need to change the constitution. Because from the back door, by bullying, arm twisting, you know, the judiciary, by, you know, putting all your dissenters behind jail, causing a chilling effect, and using even, you know, the gun to kill. You're continuously bringing, by consensus, a large population of one religion into this Hindu majoritarian corporate Rashtra. And so what is the situation of human rights in the making of a corporate Hindu Rashtra, already corporate Hindutva Rashtra, whatever you call it? What is it? Before I move, I want to talk about situation along with resistance, with some of the illustrations that I want to give you. It will be a recap for many of you, but I think it's important to go through it. At least from the point of view of being a human rights worker and being a part of the PUC, and that's my experience. I'm not a thinker, I'm not a writer, I'm not, I'm not where a lot of you may be located. I'm simply a human rights worker. So I want to start again with the Bhima Koregaon case, where in 6 years, all of you have heard about the Bhima Koregaon case, some of the finest dissenters, writers, lawyers, cultural artists, trade union workers, human rights workers were arrested in 2018, and many are still languishing in jail. 9 out and 8 are still in, and 1 is died. So it's actually 1 died, and it's a total of 16, 9 out, and 6 still inside. So what is it that it does to the Indian constitution or the law or the constitutionalism, the constitutional value that was put in place through the judiciary, that bail is the rule and jail the exception? But what do we see in a situation that we are living in? We see it the other way around, that actually bail is an exception and jail is the rule, and you better stay in jail. Not just this, of course, it caused, Bhima Koregaon caused such a chilling effect. Again, I don't know about what happened in your state, whether it caused a chilling effect with activists, but let me tell you, in the north, in central India, whether it was Chhattisgarh, Maharashtra, or in the northern states, Jharkhand, Bihar, Madhya Pradesh, it caused a lot of impact. UP, it caused a lot of impact, and a lot of activists actually put a self-silence on themselves, and even decided to work differently. It's not about adopting a strategy. We have to be very, very tactful all the time to keep our rights alive and to keep our spaces intact. But here was a different effect. Now, what else do you see? You see that Mahesh Raut, he got bail last year. It's more than a year. And the Supreme Court has stayed that bail, and it's refusing to even hold a hearing. Initially there were some hearings, but those hearings, of course, the lawyers himself decided, because just felt that it didn't seem right, the bench in front of it, that this case was. Imagine, lawyers now have to even decide on which bench to bring up the case. That's again very sad. It's a saddened situation and a sad state of the Indian judiciary. But what is it that keeps something like, the middle class consensus with something like Bhima Koregaon? What is it? Because you actually, who were the largest number of people arrested? Yes, there were trade unionists, there were thinkers, writers, but largest number of them protecting the rights of Adivasis. And being critical about what successive governments, it actually doesn't matter which government. Successive governments have only attacked the Adivasis in various ways. And why? All of us know it, that the largest number, the central India has the largest amount of iron ore, and just like say the state of Chhattisgarh, it's got 25% of India's iron ore, and then the bauxite, the kind of high quality bauxite it has. So of course, what have successive governments been doing? Whether it was the UPA, of course we know Manmohan Singh called the Nakshalites the biggest threat to internal security. He labeled them as that, the internal threat. So if you look at what's happening there, the ordinary people are trying to save their forests, but what is the government doing? The moment there's a project of a road coming up, Adivasis get agitated, because the road means that the mining company is coming and is going to be mining. mining. So obviously they will resist. So you won't believe it what the latest situation is. I don't know how many of you are following up. I may be totally wrong. That from the 1st of January 2024, when a 6-month-old baby was killed by the paramilitary forces, to date, the official figures are something like 300 people have been killed. But if you just look at it in this 1st of January, when a journalist was killed, and it's really sad. I mean, it was to do with the contractors who make the road, the corruption there, it got hold of something. And to date, 15th of February, about 78 people have been killed. What is happening? What is the government announcing? The government is saying that they are going to finish Naxalism by 2026 March. They've announced it. Okay. Earlier also government said that they're going to finish Naxalism. And what do they end up doing? They end up just killing civilians. And that is what is happening. That this, this off and on announcement of snuffing out Naxalism, actually, government figures are never correct. And what is brushed underneath the carpet is actually the death of Adivasis, the civilians. Now, as I said, that both the Congress and the BJP, the UPA and the NDA have signed all these kind of MOUs. So this war is going to go on. This imperative, to control left-wing extremism for the country's development. For which development? Corporate development. Development for profit. Now, I think it's very important to understand that this is not new. We are actually in the 20th year of this kind of ongoing intensive war against the people of Bastar. And this is, Dr. Binayak Sen is not in town, but why did the state go against Dr. Binayak Sen? Because it's in 2005 when the government of Chhattisgarh, the BJP government of Chhattisgarh, started Sarva Jaroor, which all of you may have heard of, where 600 villages were evacuated. Ordinary people were armed to kill others, to kill their own brothers. And of course, you think the UPA government did anything about it? No, they didn't. In fact, they supplied them with more paramilitary. Now, Dr. Binayak Sen got arrested because they brought out the first report. When the state makes war against its own people, that war is now more, off and on it gets more and more intensified, and at this point of time it's extremely intensive against the people. Now, in the midst of all this that's happening there's something to realize. That, and as stated by one of our journalist friends, that the voices of the Kashmiri people suffering you will still hear. Because Kashmiris know how to fight for themselves. The voice of Bastar and that of suffering Adivasis is really muted. It does not even reach Jagdalpur, the largest town of Bastar, leave alone Raipur, leave alone Delhi. So, this voice that gets muted on the way, and Bastar gets redder and redder and bloodier. Do you think people are not resisting? I want to bring the voices of two people from that place to share with you how resistance and hope go together. We just met two journalists. The only woman journalist, Pushpa Usaindi, who works in Bijapur. She's a fearless reporter. She works for some portal as well as daily newspaper called Prakhar Samachar. She works under the watchful eye of the IB. She gets calls regularly to change the news content, but she refuses. She has received rape threats and death threats from contractors, which of course has prevented a lot of other women who do come into journalism there in Bastar, but move back. So she has decided that she is going to work as a journalist through her newspaper, and I mean this is a newspaper not run by her, it's a collective that runs it, but she will somehow expose the truth that Adivasis are suffering from. She herself is an Adivasi, though interestingly she married a Maharashtrian and he was from the CRPF. He left the CRPF and he's also now become a journalist. That's very interesting, that she was able to convince him. So, to expose the truth has become an agenda and support the Adivasis and her larger brethren in this war of corporatizing their forests, making, it's opening up for diggers like Adani. She said she's going to fight it despite everything. And she graphically described to us how, when on the 1st of January 2025, this journalist Mukesh Chandrakar was killed, she is secretary of the Bijapur Press Club. Of course, later I told her, when you become secretary of a press club, one of the first things you're supposed to ensure is free daru. And that's what press clubs go by. And what is it that you're doing as a press club secretary? She said, we've come together, to actually see how we can continue doing honest reporting, to help each other, to fight the police. And I said, but there are how many journalists? She said, these days journalists are bloggers, temporary, permanent, all kinds. We are 100. So you can imagine today there are 100 journalists in a small little district called Bijapur, which is carved out of Dantewala district, and she is fighting there. Similarly, I want to bring to you another voice, and this is the voice of Manku. He's very young. Pushpa is about 40. We just met them actually. So Manku, he writes a Dainik Bhaskar, and he says to do honest journalism, to protect the right of Adivasis and to save the Indian constitution. As a young man, you have to endanger your life. You can't be just sitting and chatting. You've got to endanger and ask her. This young man was telling us from the stage that if you don't live with risk, how can you save this country? How can you save, the people of Adivasis? And he said, he's summoned regularly because he's a young man. They can't do it so much of a 40-year-old woman. But a young man who's summoned regularly by the police, and he's also, he's received threats of being killed also. But he said that I've joined journalism to actually write about the situation of the people in terms of health, education, food, water. The water crisis is acute. He says, I've come to write about all this. He belongs to Kanker district. He said, I've come to write about all this. But if you are living in a state and he used two Hindi, he is Gondi, but he used two Hindi phrases. जब बाढ़ ही खेत को खा लेगा या जब रक्षक ही भक्षक बन जाएगा, when the fence itself, instead of protecting the farm, will actually consume the farm, or when the protector becomes the enemy, then what do? He said you have to learn to protect yourself, and at the same time you cannot allow this injustice to silence you. He said life comes once, it has to be lived honestly, and he is going to do it till the end. So this is the hope. There are not too many young people who are Manku's age. I don't think anybody here is a Manku's age. But Manku Netam is full of hope. And he's not just one voice. To bring his voice or to bring Pushpa's voice was to bring actually that even in the worst situation in India, people are keeping democracy alive, the constitution alive, and hope alive. I just want to add one more thing. In 2021, as I told you, when the road comes up in Adivasi areas in Bastar, the paramilitary force comes with it because under their watchful eyes and under their protection the road will be made, because the Adivasis are not going to allow you. And therefore a police camp comes. So this is a village called Silgare, where a police camp, a paramilitary camp came up, and the people started protesting. I saw that in Kashmir also. There's a paranoid, actually the paramilitary is actually paranoid. They're so scared, I mean, they all have to go through some sort of mental health therapy. And similarly in Bastar, they're very scared. So the moment people come outside to protest, they start firing. They can, they have been given that option. And they simply have to say that the bullet actually came from that side. And that's enough to justify that firing. There's no account. Like when we've done fact findings of firing, we will, consider how many bullets are fired and what was the weapon used by the police. Nothing. You can just fire straight away. And they fired at people, and then a non-stop dharna started outside that camp itself. And the young people, earlier they needed a Vinayak Sen and a PUCL. We all need each other still. But they needed a Vinayak Sen and a PUCL to actually write their reports. Today Adivasis are writing their own reports. And then they don't need a PUCL activist to come and protect them. The Moolwasi Bachao Manch was formed by young Adivasi people, by young Adivasi boys and girls. Can you believe it? How many have been arrested and put behind bars? 60. 60 Moolwasi Bachao Manch people have been put behind bars. They're all young people, and it has been banned. So scared is the government of them. And including one of our PUCL members, Sunita Pottam, is in jail. And many others, along with her, many others are in jail. So the whole idea to bring this in front of all of you was that even in the worst circumstances, something for me and us to learn all the time, and we hope those times are not seen by people like you who can actually fearlessly run a 6-month street campaign to demand for justice for a rape victim. I don't know when your streets will be forced to, be vacated by protesters, and when will your newspapers be stopped from reporting honestly. I really don't know. You will have to tell. We are very impressed by the headlines of the Telegraph, but we would love to see, hear you on it. But we do think that if in major parts of India the media is being criminalized and spaces are being, freedom of expression spaces are shrinking, we think perhaps in the state of West Bengal that it's not similar. So you all know about how BBC was raided because they showed a film. You can't show that film. You can't show Narendra Modi having orchestrated the riots in 2002 in Gujarat. You can't show that film on the genocide. That was one of the most, the most tempered of all films. So the BBC was raided, and also just we learned recently that how not only have they fined them, but ED has filed cases against them. We also know how NewsClick was shut down. It's not shut down, but the attempt to break it. Imagine, on the 3rd of October 2023, one of those days, initially in October, 104 staffers were raided on NewsClick and 2 were arrested. Prabir Purkayas, the editor, the in-chief, was picked up, and the HR head Amit Chakravarti. Now, he's 90% disabled, like Sai Baba, who was 90% disabled. Amit Chakravarti, who's the HR head, 90% disabled. I hate to say it, but his situation was so bad. Say, for instance, he was put on the 1st floor when the bathroom was on the ground floor. Just to torture a prisoner, his bathroom was on the ground floor. So he had to actually crawl and come every time to the bathroom. So every time his lawyers would raise this, that Tihar jail has not yet made arrangements, but they say, yeah, we're doing it. And at the end, Amit Chakrabarti was so exhausted and felt so completely humiliated and exhausted that he said, well, I will become an approver. What do you want me to say? I will become an approver. And he gave an affidavit or whatever they wanted him to give. However, since the entire, still courts look at rule of law, look at procedure. We know Sudha got released on, it was a default bail because the procedures had not been carried out properly of arrest and, who gives sanctions to sanction for UAPA. Those procedures had not been followed. That is why she got bail. Similarly, Prabir Purkha's finally got bail because of procedural lapses. It's written 6 a.m. He was picked up at 6 a.m. and they're writing 8 a.m. and the court managed to see some of these discrepancies. So the case, he was released completely. So it's not for nothing that India stands 159th out of 2024 out of the 180 countries in the world press freedom index. It seemed last year we were lower. We were in 2023. We were 161. We've gone down. That means our freedom index is slightly improved, and we've come to 159. This kind of worst kind of ranking to the freedom of the press in the world's largest democracy is something that should trouble us deeply. That really should trouble us. And can we have freedom of speech and expression as defined by the Indian Constitution, which is not absolute because we have restrictions under 19(1), but still we have very much a very sound law and the work around it that the courts have done and otherwise. But if India stands at 159, just to give you a reference that I've spoken about, Bastan must be standing, as Nandini Sundar says, at minus 5,000. Its ranking would be like so low, where there is actually no way that truth can emerge, and still there is hope. So I think what we have to understand is that it's not just about Godi media and television, but every kind of dissent is being suppressed. And I don't know what it is here, but in our state, for instance, or in Delhi, can you hold a rally? Can you hold a protest? You can't. We just did an NREJ dharna. I'm just moving from the media to streets, which should be ours. The streets, till our streets are not filled up, how are we going to reclaim democracy? So we did recently today NREJ, demanding some rights NREJ in December. It's like a matinee show. You get a 3-hour permission. 3 hours. So you will get 10 to 1. Protest from 10 to 1. And then 1 to 4. So we are also clever. People were coming from West Bengal, UP, Bihar, Jharkhand, all over the country, Karnataka. So from the same, we are a collective, Narega Sangharsh Morcha. 4 groups took permission from the Parliament police station. 10 to 1, 1 to 4. Obviously, people are not going to return home after 3 hours. This is the condition of Jantar Mantar for a demand like pay us backdated arrears, or give us more work. The policeman got so angry. He told the young person who had gone and got the permission. He said, "अगर कल वही लोगों को देख लिया ना तो देख लेना, तुम्हें मैं गिरफ्तार कर लूँगा." This is your Jantar Mantar. Of course, Palestine is out. You can't protest in defense of the Palestinians. You just can't. But even something like Narega, you can't. But at the same time, if you're lots of sadhus, you're coming to make hate speeches. Delhi is open. Delhi public places are open. You can make as many hate speeches. Why even Jaipur? Jaipur was better off because we did not have a BJP government, but things were deteriorating, and now it's really bad. You can't, the hate mongers will get all the public spaces, but not people like us. Even we're having a Vidhan Sabha. They are just not letting us sit anywhere. And they told us, you have a very good record of public protest. You'll never lose your cool. You're not abusive. You don't fight. We will grant you permission without a letter. This is the situation, and if if the streets are going to get emptied, which increasingly they are, then of course we know what the situation of democracy and what the parliament is becoming. When we come in protest, we are called urban nuptials. I mean, I've had a raid in my house, etc., etc. We are urban nuptials, and we are told, don't talk about haq, only talk about kartavyam. And this is the way that people will tell us about, that you don't have to talk about rights at all. Rights is now, it's not required. You have to build the nation, you have to construct the nation, you have to redo the nation. But not in the manner as Gandhi. When Gandhi was asked by Jamnalal Bajaj, okay, now the nation stands on the edge of independence. What will the congressmen do? He said social service. And on a train journey from one Wardha to another place, he wrote the 13 points that social service, according to him, was, which includes everything that we are doing, which is doing urban nuptialism, according to them. The first thing was community unity. The first thing that he said was community unity. So, I don't have to talk too much about the 17 young Muslim men who are still in jail in the aftermath of the Delhi riot cases under UAPA, a completely fabricated false case, but just no bail. I mean, we've been hearing about what Umar Khalid and others, but it's not just Umar Khalid, there are many, many others. And the media has demonized each one of those young leaders that we are very worried if caught in public, they can also be killed, because there's so much of demonizing that happens. So Hindu Rashtra has several enemies. So Adivasis I've already talked about, and Muslims and perhaps Dalits. Muslims who have been criminalized in every sense. It's like at least there was a notification by the Britishers to criminalize certain tribes. Here there's no notification, but you've been criminalized. So even before you are born, you have been demonized. Even before you're born, your whole community is demonized. And a recent study just said that there has been drop in education levels among the Muslims in these last 10 years, a drop in employment, a drop in education and education of women, that has dropped. So we know it. We started off with lynchings. You could just lynch because you had so much of impunity. As part of the Hindu Rashtra, as part of the making of the Hindu Rashtra, the worker has so much of impurity, the Bajrangan or whatever, that even if you kill Muslim, nothing will happen to you. Other than in one case in Jharkhand on lynching, we've really had no convictions. And of course, your mosque can't stand to be. There'll always be a temple underneath your mosque, and if at all, and in the name of love jihad, we know what's happened. The whole, UCC and whatnot, are coming in the name of love jihad, all rubbish, restricting our freedom of expression, restricting, my right to love, my right to marry whom I want. And look at the level at which they've gone. That now people, they want to monitor everything. They want to monitor sexuality, our fertility. So they want to even monitor who's living with whom. I can't believe it. I lived with one man for over 22 years, and I can't believe it that if somebody told us that, it's this relationship is criminalized, you have to go and register, we would never. We said, okay, we'll be criminals. Basically to monitor who's sleeping with whom and how many Muslim boys are living with Hindu girls. That is the agenda. And therefore, you make so the Muslim from being a criminal to an encroacher because the mosque is on a temple or whatever, anti-national, to somebody who is out to just convert people into, convert Hindu girls into Muslim. So this continuous sort of humiliation, attack, criminalization has led to real subordination of people. So you ask yourself that what are the courts doing? What are the courts doing on this? We all know what happened in the Zakia Jafri, in the Ehsan Jafri case. We all know that after some 15 years in the matter, 20 years actually, when the matter came up, the Justice Khanwalkar judgment in 2023, what did they do? They criminalized Teesta Sehgal. That's what they did. And similarly, when Himanshu Kumar from Bastar took the killings of 15 people from one village in Bastar, what happened? What did Justice M.R. Shah do? Himanshu was to be prosecuted. It was just that the Chhattisgarh government didn't pick up the prosecution, but they wrote. Like they wrote in the judgment, like Khanwalkar and others wrote in their judgment against Teesta. Similarly, Himanshu, in the judgment by M.R. Shah, Himanshu Kumar was criminalized, and they said 5 cases against him. And they also said that NGOs are used to actually divert the resources of the people, and they force us to do investigations which are not required, which means don't talk about when Muslims are killed, don't talk about when Adivasis are killed. This is from the Supreme Court of India. It doesn't finish up. I don't know how many of you know, but on the 3rd of January, a judgment came in a famous case called the Kasganj riots in Uttar Pradesh. Now in this case, this is in 2018, 26 January, a school in Kasganj. Kasganj is a small district close to Delhi, actually closer to Delhi than Lucknow. Republic Day celebrations were happening in one school, in the chalk, actually in a public place by a school. And 80 ABVP workers came on motorcycles. I don't know if you heard about this, but it was like really reported at that point of time. And they came driving through the arena where the program of the school was happening, and there was a Muslim-dominated show that was happening. So people stopped them, that you can't do this. Now, when the ABVP people reversed and started driving back, there was mayhem, and who had the gun, where the firing happening, one Chandragupta somebody died. Now, in that case, 31 Muslims were arrested. They arrested all the assertive Muslims of that area. The police led parties to break homes from inside. Women were sexually harassed, but nothing happened. And finally, when the judgment came, and the case was under sedition, remember, and the Supreme Court read down sedition, and these cases should have been dismissed. They should have really been nothing should have happened, but then it was 302 also. So 31 of them got convicted on the 3rd of January 2025. Okay, they were convicted. No merits, but they were convicted. But the judgment doesn't end there. There was a fact-finding report brought out by one organization, but endorsed by PUCL and Teesta Citizen for Justice and Peace, and some others, United Against Hate. About 6 organizations endorsed it. Now this was given as an additional document right at the end, right at the last stage, and the judge says, कुछ और document देने हैं तो दे दीजिए. So people are giving rulings, arguments, lower courts work according to Supreme Court, High Court rulings. So, and then this additional document was given, which was a fact-finding report, because the Muslims felt that their version never came anywhere. Their version was not reported by the newspapers, it wasn't in the trial, their lawyer was given a tough time, the judge refused to hear a lot of things. So they said, ye report dal dijiye. Now that report had on its cover endorsed by PUCL, blah blah blah, 6 organizations. So the judge goes on to say, the Kasgan judge goes on to say that NGOs which provide legal aid and lawyers are which is only promoting a point of view is extremely dangerous. NGOs ought not to be providing lawyers and legal aid. And he also went on to say that Muslims being given any kind of support is actually anti-national. It is not in the interest of the nation. And what could be the interest of these NGOs? Why are they interfering with the judicial process? Why are they doing fact-finding? We must take necessary action to stop them. All this is written in para 185 to 188, targeting us. When we were not even called, when we were not even asked to give our point of view, if you want to make some charges against us, then you have to call us. We have to be deposing, we have to be telling what it was to do. They never called us. And then he says that there is too much interference in the judicial process and this has to be stopped. So he was recommending that the chairman of the Bar Council should be writing to the Principal Secretary Home Affairs that action should be taken against us and we should be examined. And he would directly write also to the Ministry of Home Affairs. So this is what judges are doing. But if Supreme Court judges do this, so why won't lower court judges say the same? So now you can't even provide legal aid or do fact-finding. This doesn't finish here. Actually, what Pushpa and Mangu Netam are doing through their daily news reports, we do through fact-finding. Now, this one tool which is in a democracy, what are the peaceful tools of struggling for the restoration of justice? One of them is fact-finding, to expose the truth. And that is what we do. We've been doing historically, we've always done it. And what did Gandhi do when he went to study the indigo farming related suffering of the people? That was fact-finding. And that is what it's a legacy of the freedom movement. And that is what we've been doing. But you won't believe it, that how this is now being attacked, and attacked by none other than the Tushar Mehta, the Solicitor General, in a petition that was filed against the Delhi riot fact-finding done by Harsh Mandar and others. Tushar Mehta, somebody filed that this fact-finding needs to stop. So the Solicitor General was called, and in the Delhi, this is a pending case since 2020. He says, can there be a parallel judicial system? I cannot have my own tribunal. If you have a grievance, go to the competent court. I cannot have my own fact-finding committee. This is what Tushar Mehta says to the court. And it doesn't finish here. It really, because this is now everywhere, citizens' inquiry is being attacked. I don't know, again I'm saying that I don't think you're familiar with all this. In this state, you could still do all this, but it is now being questioned. When we go and fact, the number of people who go and fact-finding in various states end up actually for a night in jail. They are arrested and put in jail, that they've come to disturb the peace. Doing a fact-finding is disturbing peace at the minimum, but otherwise it's an interference with the judicial process. So, I think I would like to go by A.G. Noorani, who says that the message that such inquiries send out to witnesses are requests, and the entire exercise is voluntary. The noise it arouses is a testimony to its high credibility, and that is why even the Supreme Court is scared of fact-finding reports. And that is why they don't want, it's not just the state, but even the courts are frightened. He had written this in the context of what was happening, an attack on Noorani. I won't go into the death of political activists in jail, but this is an area that I think really requires a lot of work, and we've done PUCL, and I personally have done a lot of work in this area. Now, I do feel that, I don't know how you people are closest to the Northeast, you are the doorway in many sense to go to the Northeast, and I wonder how did you all respond to this ethnic war of the Kuki and the Meiteis? We got a chance because the PUC decided to conduct a tribunal, and that's how I went along with 14 others. We were 15 of us who went together. How is it possible that something like this, this conflict is just allowed? It's unprecedented, this kind of ethnic violence that broke out. And it is now existing in terms of borders, between the Meiteis and Kukis, there are borders, there are buffer zones, whom Amit Shah only knows. Amit Shah went there. in a month after the violence had started, not in a month, 3 weeks. And he created these buffer zones. So now you have, this is Meitei area, this is Kuki area. Cookies can't come. This is all happening in India. So now if I'm a Kuki and I need an intervention related to my heart, 60 kilometers away to Imphal, where there is the All India Institute of Medical Sciences in Imphal. I can't go there, I can't go to the Jawaharlal Nehru Hospital. I have to travel 8 hours and go to Aizawl through dirt roads and broken roads. I just can't head towards Imphal because I can be killed. There's so much of hatred, there's so much of anger. I mean, it's unbelievable kind of hatred and anger. And taking over, I mean, there is, what we saw was no rule of law. Women had taken over exit and entries, and they were actually giving passes, stamping them and giving passes. One JNU scholar whom I knew from years, he called me up and he said, I've heard you're here, please come with your team. And we said, of course we'll come. This was a Meitei-dominated district called Kachin, and Justice Kannan, who was one of our tribunal members, went there and he was shocked. I mean, that this could be happening in India, but that is how it appeared and it existed. Of course, today some changes have happened. They've tried to remove the chief minister, but the suspicion, the hate, the anger between these two communities can be even restored. Today it appears like alien concepts. I talk, normally women everywhere work for peace. So I had a special meeting because I had worked in the past with the various communities there, the Nagas, the Meiteis, and we worked towards peace. And they led the process of peace. So we talked to different women's groups, and they said no. The Kuki women said very clearly, the way our women got raped and the way Meitei women handed over these women to the men to rape and kill, and we don't think we want to even talk to them. And similarly the Meiteis. So what do you do, when concepts like harmony, living together, brotherhood turn into alien concepts, and ethnic cleansing is, the idea of how can you live in peace if you eliminate, with this kind of idea that has generated. I mean, please remember, this is the new India. This is the modern Indian constitution to be implemented in this kind of India that I'm reporting to you, which is only just a glimpse. So where do we go from here? I mean, I just feel, number one, something that all of you know, Nisha is sitting here, many of you must be working around it. I really think that, we recognized and then built safeguards to all around the work of all those who are speaking out. And I think these mechanisms have to come in now. Don't wait, for the climate to change in your state. It's the time to do it. We always, I don't know why we keep doing only crisis management. We had such a good time in Rajasthan because yes, the Congress has lots and lots of problems, but we could fight back. We knew that, we wouldn't be stopped for all this. We could fight tooth and nail. We could be on the streets, which of course now we've been pushed back. But we never did all this, did not recognize it to the point of building mechanisms, to the point of trying to, building new structures to hold us. Other than civil society, nobody can fight. And please remember, Manusmriti Dahan was done by Ambedkar in 1927 on 25th December. And now Manusmriti is going to come in as the new constitution. I mean, these may be just threats. But we always thought they were mad people, they were frenzied, they were on the margins. Kya kar lenge? Kuch bhi nahi karenge, we will be alright. And see that they are not only at the center, but they've taken the whole majority, I mean a very big section of the majority. Look at Kumbh. I mean, we are not seeing young people in this lecture. But who are the people? 50 crore is all wrong, the number, but how many other crores that reached? The largest number were youngsters. I mean, our friends, PUCL and others, because they went to study the Stampede, and even before that, they were telling us, and there is a social science institute where we have friends, they were saying that it is shocking, the number of young people who have come. And why do you go? Why do you go to take a bath in Sangam? I mean, since that was my Nani's house, Allahabad, we were told that you come here before your death. It's a snan that's very important, which will, take you, which will like straighten all your karmas, and you'll be gone straight from here. And that is why you come to take that holy dip, a place where we were never allowed to go because there was always filthy. According to my dad, we were not allowed to go. But now so many young people are headed in that direction, and so they have a whole majority to destroy this country. So and that is why I was very interested in coming when Shujit Da called me, that how, I'm sure you're far ahead. I come from a state where we don't have too much of political consciousness. Yours is a state which is extremely politically alive. I think so. That is how we grew up. Culturally alive. Now it's cultural nationalism. How is it playing with the kind of culture that we grew up with? Because it is cultural nationalism that we are being told is what is our past, what is India all about, and in that there is Manusmriti and all that. So in this context, the first thing is to recognize that your political climate is going to change. It's not going to be, you are not, you don't have a kavach around yourselves. And I think you need to regroup. And Kalajmani, if we have to live in this Kal, we need many more youngsters. And I'm not going to tell you how you do it, how you mobilize, but I would agree that they're not interested. I think they're very interested. Our ways are just not right, and we have been working with youth a lot. And people come to us simply because they say we want to join your internship for 30 days, and 30 days is like a year for us, and we can do a lot with them. 30 days with young people who have never had the doors and windows of their homes, of their institutions, of their colleges open. They're all shut. How do you open it for them? How do you sensitize? So it's through the internship program. I'm only giving you one example that we end up interacting with 150 to 200 students, year after year. We've done 25 years of internship. We started with 3 students, but it's just been going on, and more students are coming. So you just have to convert every opportunity into an opportunity where you have to get the people to connect with this reality, and they do it better than you. Their sensitivities are better than you. The other thing, that's something that we run, is an everyday visit to homeless people, to street people, through a medicine program. The poor will never be entertained, even in the best public hospitals in Rajasthan. You have free medicine, free diagnostics, free inpatient, everything free. But we know it that that patient will not come and will neither be entertained. So that's the one thing that we work with some other friends who have a little van, and they go to many bastis every day. For a street medicine program, we say interns also have to go. 2 interns, 2 have to go. That's the way you connect to actually extreme poverty. We do a lot of street walking. So anyway, there are ways and ways and ways of connecting, or getting young people to connect with at least their immediate realities. It's not Bastar that we are showing them the way to Bastar. We are not. But we are showing them at least connect with your reality, and every time when you think of something that is seriously wrong, you will remember. And it has, I can say that we have qualitatively made a difference. It does give, in terms of a long-term vision, it does help. Even these small. I'm sure all of you are doing this. Maybe I'm just telling you things that may be so preliminary, you may be doing better. But the only way to safeguard is to keep developing new ways of working, new mechanisms of connecting and getting into the existence. This is only one of the things that I want to say. The other is that, till we don't get in writing, till now, everything is in writing in the constitution and in law. But of course, they're going to try to change all this, and as I said, through the back door, they're changing. But we can fight it out till it is in writing, through the courts. The courts is a restricted area of work, but it is a very important area to work. And increasingly, we must get into this kind of human rights lawyering through, these our advocacy methods, and especially if you're writers, thinkers, when you can think so well and you can write so well. So transfer some of those ideas to your legal experts so that it goes into courts And we cannot give up on constitutionalism, you know. It's okay to have a constitution book, but we will not surrender. The entire new 3 laws, BNS, BNSS, and the Indian Evidences Act is to make you surrender even more. The colonialists, they said they bring you out of the colonial framework of laws, but actually it is subjecting you more to surrendering to the state. It's as we would say, or nirankush ho gaya hai. State has now got more power. State is more nirankush. So can we give up? Can we give up on those processes? Can we give up on legislative processes? Having lost most of the assemblies and parliament, can we give up? Can we give up on the courts? No. And I think that will have to come by continuously going and knocking their door. Some people should be doing this continuously. That's the only way to push and push. And the third thing, something that I never ever agreed to, was to make issues international. I was there again. I mean, I was born with these values of the freedom struggle, where I also thought, you know, that what is this, and why should you be advocating, you know, internationally, etc. But I think it's very important now that we are now that globally we've shrunk. I think it is very, although the health of democracy globally, I mean, we have the US and we know what's happening there, and the Elon Musk and Trump duo, what are they doing to this world? You know, imagine having Gaza Riviera, you know. So, I mean, this something like this that we would never have thought, but we still have to globally, through all medium writing, and we've got to expand our communication, not just locally within each other, but also expand this, and therefore expand your legal networks, expand your networking, your human rights institutions. You have to continuously be expanding and expanding, so therefore new mechanisms you develop. Finally, what is it that I want to say? I mean, apart from giving legal aid, support, and solidarity when people get arrested, wo to karna hi chahiye, or under threat, we will have to develop new models. But finally, I really think the challenge before us is to keep secularism alive. Secularism is one of the core ideas of a democracy, and we want our democracy to remain alive. We have to have our secularism remain alive. And I think for secularism, a lot of us are giving up hope that, I mean, diversity is going to finish. This sort of exclusion will, I mean, if the Indian Constitution, what did it do? The colonialist exclusion was finished, and before that, whatever, the Brahmin, as you know, there was no punishment against Brahmins, we know that. The new constitution and the IPC and all did have some sort of equality, which is like of the 19th century. There was equality before the law, except when you look at the Criminal Tribes Act. But the kind of exclusion that we are facing now, and the subordination of communities, which includes Dalits, they fear that most. I think that we have to insist on how do we preserve this diversity? How do we preserve this inclusion? How do we keep alive secularism? We have to see it from amongst us. In our own small autonomous spaces, how inclusive are we? In our organizations, how inclusive are we? Is the PUCL an inclusive organization? Can a Dalit become the PUCL president? It takes almost 50 years for a woman to become president. I became president 2 years ago. I mean, I'm not just saying representing a certain power balance, but I'm simply saying that inclusivity in our own spaces. If we are not going to learn to walk together today with others, this is something that we've got to bring into our own space. It is not there, it's here, because majoritarianism has pushed out a lot of others, definitely Muslims, outside public spaces. I can see it myself. You know, and what you see these days in Rajasthan, you see the Jamaats, the Jamaati Muslims who you know, you recognize them, but where are the others? Where are the other Muslims? Where are the other Muslim women who stood with us in our women's movement? I come from the women's movement. So friends, I think somewhere We have to, even while we are contesting the state, while we are building mechanism to fight it, somewhere we have to move away and see it from amongst ourselves where we stand located. Building hope is really possible and we have to live with hope. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Srimati Srivastava, for your talk. Now, the House is open for discussion for 15 minutes.
I have no question. I would like to just inform Kavita ji that in the 80s and early 90s, Kalodhoni office, that is the office of the little magazine Kalodhoni, was the official address of PUCL West Bengal.
Oh, lovely.
And as far as I know, the editor of Kalodhoni, Prashanta Chattopadhyay, was one of the committee members of that then PUCL West Bengal.
I think we need to revive the PUCL at all. You have a very active APDR and we need to revive PUCL.
What I was saying to Kavita Srivastava, that we heard all about the operation and the patients, but our simple question is that what to do? There is so much clashes between the caste, between religion, but there is no such way and complete way to talk about the resistance, form of resistance. Yes, Umar Khalid is still in jail for last 4 years. Shamil possibly up to 5 years. So Umar Khalid is 4 years. And Sargil has cost
4.5 years.
4.5 years. But still we are sitting and talking about what to do. We are thinking about something in group discussion, academic discussion. This should not be done. This was done. That is wrong. We are speaking about secularizing and each and everything. But we have not taken any positive step, concrete step, and where we can challenge the constitution also and the administration of those.
So I have made it very clear that I am going to talk of the situation, the grim situation along with resistance, and I think I was continuously showing that, you know, how people are working. As far as how do you get somebody out? Okay, I mean that is one of my major work. How do you get people released? Yeah. So for Dr. Binayak Sen, the climate of democracy was such that Although the term urban Nakshal, let me tell you, I mean, I'd already heard about it when Vinayak was arrested on the 13th of May 2007, and I remember speaking to the DG police that evening or next morning. He said, "Madam, Vinayak Sen is an urban Nakshal." That's it. This is before, much before these guys came in. And he's mobilizing the urban youth into Nakshalism. And that is why, we have to arrest him and etc. Vinayak Sen's campaign for release was not just, it was everywhere, in every state. In Chhattisgarh it didn't exist. Let me tell you, we all as outsiders used to go to Chhattisgarh. And in fact later we did this Satyagraha also, this Vinayak ko Rihai Karo Satyagraha also, where every week on every Tuesday we at least 100-200 people would protest on the street, and we were all from outside. Chhattisgarh had a chilling effect and nobody was coming out of Chhattisgarh. But we could do it everywhere and globally, and we were also, Leena and I even traveled to the UK, and we were also invited by the members of the Scottish Parliament to come and talk to us about Vinayak Sen. We were invited by the UK Parliament, where some lords and ladies wanted to talk to us. So there was a different climate at that point of time. You cannot run those kinds of release campaigns today. And why? Let me tell you, today the largest number of struggles that are happening despite the silencing, subordination, is the Muslims who are struggling to do these campaigns of release, because we have, those of us born in the majority community, we have fallen few numbers. And it is, we have to recognize, and that time you cannot say, when we did 2 years ago, we did a program reporting in sectarian times, and all the speakers are Muslim. Immediately we were told, yeah, एक तो Hindu speaker डालना था ना, ऐसे कैसे? And these are progressive people. Surely reporting in sectarian times would be, would have many Hindus also. Even people like us are not accepting of total panels that are Muslims. The othering is also being done by us. It's a difficult time. It's a difficult situation where we also are as much, if not affected or influenced, we are as much a part of that Herculean problem that stands before us. And I am talking as a responsible civil society member and from a responsible organization. And we've asked ourselves, why are we not able to create a campaign, not just actually for Umar Khalid? Who are the people who've got bail? Devangana Kalita, Natasha Narwal in the Delhi riots, both Hindus, along with Asif Iqbal Tanha, because the 3 applications were together, and later Ishrat Jahan, who was a councillor. 4 people have got bail, 17 are still inside of 21, all young Muslim men. Why is there no campaign happening? We have sat, after the Delhi riot, Delhi became such a city that no office, no home would give you a space to sit, because the Delhi Special Police called 1100 civil society members for questioning. 1100. WhatsApp groups were criminalized. The Delhi Solidarity group created for the 25 dharnas against CAA were criminalized. And 2 people, in fact, Umar Khalid's bail is arguing that. So what am I trying to say? I'm trying to say that the chilling effect affected who? It affected the Muslim community, but it affected the majority community more. Who runs organizations in Delhi? There are people from the community in which I have been born, from the Hindu community. We had no space. And even today, it is so difficult. Every 28th February, when the regular Jalsa is not a Jalsa, let's call it a day to remember. When the riots broke out in Delhi, who comes? Even today, you won't have activists coming. You can't do it on Jantar Mantar. You can't do it anyway. You have to, even the Christian institution stopped it. I went up to a father and I said, you will not give a space? Where do we do it in Delhi? In my house? Should I do it in my house? And with such difficulty, he said, okay, we have that one, it is in that corner, you go and do it there. You don't have institutions, you will say you're just adding more problem. The point is that it is something that we have to initiate us. As a majority community, the responsibility is on us to actually initiate it and get into it. We keep trying. Off and on, we try to bring everybody together. That let's have a release of all 17, not just Umar Khalid, Mehran Haider, Gulfisha, one of the most feisty activists in the CANRC. What poems she wrote? She's done a conversation with Fairs. PUCL bulletin next month is going to carry it. She does a conversation with Fairs through her poems because it's the month of Fairs. No release for her. The women's movement has not come out in this fashion. The restrictions of what has happened to Indian democracy has affected all of us. And the way out is that the lawyers cannot alone fight it. The lawyers, everybody knows, every lawyer, every judge knows what's happening, but they don't want to address it. So you have to regroup, try again. Like NewsClick came back into action after 104 reporters were intimidated, their devices taken away. We've got to keep trying. That's all I'm trying to say. It's a moment to keep trying. It's the moment to not give up on the streets. It is this moment. It's a very tough, difficult moment. You can't even imagine what it is. Every time when Mandeep Punia from the farmers protest, the year of farmers, when he was picked up, and when he was released, there was no place where he could go. I get a call from a friend, and he said, "Can we take him? I live in a house which is a friend's house. She doesn't stay in the country. Can we take him to your house because he has to meet the press?" I said, "Sure." This is what Delhi has got reduced to. I'm really sorry to say, but this is what in Narega Jarna से दिल्ली डरती है तो इन मोटे सवालों से क्या होगा? But we have to try. We have to keep trying, and it has to be a passionate journey. It has to be your own. That ownership to develop करें. That we have to develop. And I think lawyers are doing it. I've seen these passionate lawyers in court who do human rights lawyering. I've seen that. We don't, they run to court. For every small thing they run to court. We don't run. We come out with a press statement or, just endorse and that's it. I think we have to break that. And that process, obviously, let us sit as a collective. Let us sit for 3 days as a collective. Let's sit 4 days as a collective and think it through that this is how we're going to proceed step by step. But it has to be thought through. This is the time. I've been telling people, take out 4 days. Please take out 3 days. Let us sit. Otherwise, they're only firefighting, they're only crisis managing. Can we take out that time? Will you give that time? Can people take out the time? I think if we just sat and thought through it, all the activists in Delhi only sat. Forget people like us who come from outside. And sat together. Gave up on that fear of being criminalized. You sit together in Delhi, the fear is that you'll be criminalized. There may be a case of conspiracy against you. That is the fear. That is the living fear that people are living with. But we have to break that. And we've got to do it. And I think there is no other way to do that, to keep trying. And we're going to be few to start with. But there will be a ripple effect in the long run.
That's very nice. But until then, we need to surrender to the state.
No way. I didn't say that.
But what is the way out?
So, what is the way out? If they come knocking on your door and they take you away, that's the fear now. We fear the loss of our civil liberties, the loss of our property. That's the middle class. We fear that too. I think be prepared. Isn't that every Muslim today? They constitute the largest the Adivasis, the Muslims, And the Dalits constitute the largest number of people in prison, and they're the ones whose death doesn't even get enumerated. I think it's not about either or. I think, what is the solidarity group when they come to pick up Shujit Da? Let's ask ourselves that. Let's ask ourselves that question. That's what I was saying. You've got to do it today in peacetime. Start planning in peacetime. When they come to close Kaladhwani, these are the instruments, no? When they come to close Kaladhwani, like, did Newsclip know that 104 reporters would be simultaneously? Imagine the number of teams of ED. The number of teams of ED went to people's homes to pick them up. Imagine, to get their devices, to pick up their laptops. People didn't even know. Even today, should I give my password? Even human rights activists don't know. Should I give my password and hand over my device? Should I hand over my device, number one? Should I give my password of all my emails and all my other mobiles and everything, of my Twitter, of my Facebook? Should I give it? People don't know. Even basic stuff we don't know. We need to be preparing. We have written up all this in our understanding of our human rights activists, that when they come to you, and they ask you a password, you don't give it. They cannot force, like they cannot force a confession of you. Why should they force your password? They may take a device. If they take a device, get the hash value there and then. The hash value. Those are the kinds of things that we've got to start with training. The next round, who are the people who will stand in solidarity? Do we have? We've got to begin doing that. That is the way. And then I'm telling you that once that little fear is broken, it's just fear that keeps the middle class away. The working class lives by breaking fear every day, and they're just too busy. How many working class people do we have in our groups? That's when I talked about diversity. That was one of the things I had in mind. It's not just ethnic and religious diversity, but how many working class people. I think it can be done if we put our heads together. Honestly, I am not willing to accept that Indian democracy will go off so easily. I'm not willing to accept that, all of us will be terrorized by them. I'm not willing to accept that. I think we just need to sit, take our time, plan, and respond. Otherwise, it will be crisis setting.
Question.
I'm just wondering, I don't need to use mic. I'm just wondering what's going to happen now with the BJP in power in Delhi.
Third time, you mean? Oh, you mean the Delhi government?
Delhi government.
See, they were tired of fighting Arvind Kejriwal. We may like him, not like him. That's another matter. Arvind Kejriwal was a colleague of mine in the RTI movement. He came much later. We were the ones who initiated it as part of NKSS. He came much later. So we know him well. We were opposed to that whole dharna. India against corruption and all that other dharna with Anna Hazare that they did. But that time there were many activists like me who were smitten with that idea now. And then as soon as he came to power, they were out on the road. People like Prashant and Yogendra, they were supporting him tooth and nail at that point of time, along with the opportunist Kiran Bedi at the helm. Arvind Kejriwal gave them a tough time. He gave them a tough time electorally. He gave them a tough time in terms of how they were using the courts to get back. Please remember that they had a battery of lawyers and the courts were continuously helping. Then they realized, Amit Shah and others realized that they could, electorally they had to defeat, and of course they put him behind bars and everything. They ran down his image a lot. I was talking to every auto driver, and so the BJP was also tired. They didn't know what step to use next if he would have returned. So now people also felt, thrice he voted AAP, let them return. AAP also was disconnected with the working class. of which it was a part. The Hindu Rashtra idea and the Hindutva glory has also reached extensively the migrant population of Delhi, which used to, which were his greatest voters. So I think the BJP having won will definitely find it very easy. One by one, the states are coming under their fold. You know, like they've got Rajasthan, they've got Haryana, they've got Maharashtra, they've got Delhi. So the entire north they have under control, and then in 2028 they will do delimitation. Before the 2029 election, they will do the delimitation where more seats will come up north, parliamentary seats. So they, I mean, it is a total, you are in the 100th year of the RSS. You are headed towards more deeper into the Hindu Rashtra. I always say we already are there. So one more state under their rule makes it easier for them. That's about it. But one more state making easier for them makes it tougher for us. And what about our resistance to fight back? How many times over have we built that strength to fight back? I think this is something that we have to realize, that they are pushing us back, and will we surrender? Will we find ourselves against the wall? When are we going to fight back? And when I say the we, it's a collective we with a lot of people whom I don't even know. It's a we across the board. It's an idea. It's the idea that brings us together. And I do feel, you know, wherever it starts, and many people are thinking, we have to sit together and try working these things out, you know, at a national. It shouldn't be, again, one of those big platforms that come up and that's about it. No, in all earnestness and all, I mean, look at what's happened to the leftists. They're not going to win West Bengal, that's what we are told. Next time, they've been wiped out. We don't know about the Kerala, you know, story of Marx. They fight for a while. But it is tough, but we have to electorally fight back. Yes, I don't know whether we are going to win electorally. I don't know. It is very important that we also fight back electorally, but more important, we fight back as part of the larger resistance that is filling this whole society with hate. That is, you know, dividing us up even more. That battle that we can fight. Electorally fighting is very difficult. Even electoral parties are finding it difficult against this vote-winning express machine called Narendra Modi and others, and the kind of monies they have. It's electorally it is tough, but at least this other battle, why are we giving up on that? That battle has to be the cultural nationalism. What is our cultural counter? You know, we are just not able to, you know, creatively imagine. And again, we are not going to expect some Charlie Chaplin and some other great, you know, who decided on silent theatre to get back. I just feel that in our own small ways, and that is why I give the story of Pushpa and Mankul, like them, there are many others who are fighting back. And therefore we don't have to be in despair. We just have to connect with them. If we cannot fight back, let's connect with those who are fighting back. And I think the working class is fighting back. I don't mean to glorify or glamorize the working class. I think they are fighting. All farmers are fighting. The new farmers bill, they'll give you an MSP, a diluted MSP they'll give you. But they take it away totally by corporatizing all mandis, everything. Farmers have to fight tough battles for water, for prices. I mean, they have to fight a lot. So they are fighting. The farmers are fighting back and we fight. Again, it was the big farmers, the Punjab farmers who came. It wasn't the Adivasi farmer that came. We have to realize, you know, the small and marginal farmer didn't come. It was the Punjab farmers, but at least they showed that you have to push, we can push you back. You never let us enter Delhi. We sat for a year, we lost 700 people, but we will fight back. I mean, where did that courage come from? So I feel there is a lot happening, you know, it is not all dismal and despair, in a state of, we don't have to be upset so much. But what are we doing? That question that you ask, we have to ask ourselves all the time. Who am I networked with? I ask myself regularly because I know that they will come for me also one day. They will. Now that we are the BJP government, they will come for me. And I have to put myself in the front of everything in Rajasthan, that if the case happens, it will happen on me. Take the permission in my name. We'll do this in my name. I have to, some of us have to move. It's not just me, some others like me. We have to put ourselves in front. So it's an everyday question that we have to ask ourselves, what is our support structure? But that doesn't mean I don't continue working, hopefully with the interns. It takes a lot of my time. Those new ways I have tried to work out, I never thought the internship program would become a way of actually communicating with so many youngsters on a regular basis. Just to give one example, there are many other programs about. So I feel electorally, yes, the BJP is doing well, but I feel very soon we'll be giving them a fight back, civil society and culturally and in other ways.
Thank you, Srimati Srivastava. Thank you, Suryansuda. Now we are on the last lap of our program. Now, vote of thanks will be given by Shri Sujit Chaudhary.
Thank you, Suchandra. What a great 2 days we have spent here. দুটো অসাধারণ দিন আমরা এখানে কাটালাম। যেসব আলোচনাগুলোর মধ্যে দিয়ে গেলাম, সেই আলোচনাগুলোর মধ্যে একটা অদ্ভুত সংযোগ আছে। সেটাকে যদি আমরা যারা দুদিন ধরে আছেন, যারা কালোধ্বনি পরিবারে, 2 days we have seen how Sri Paranjay Gotakarata has told how internet has been evolved and what a hope it was there, and how it converted to controlling the minds of the people, and then how it has been used regularly. All the medias has been taken over by one after another, and which is controlling the mind of the people. It is very interesting when Kavitaji was bringing Mangu and Pushpa to the stage. One thing is very important to understand from these discussions, that the most important tool in the hands of the oppressor are the mind of the oppressed. All the oppressor always wants to occupy the mind of the oppressor. Oppressor always wants to occupy the mind of the oppressed. That is how they rule it. And that is why the resistance started. Resistance started from our own self. When yesterday, beautifully, Professor Samadar started explaining how neoliberalism changed the capitalism, the face of the capitalism, and how it is ruling the whole world, and how the people's movement in politics, how people's movement has evolved. How more and more Indians, what Kavitaji was telling, that is resonating that voice, that how more people in the ground, the workers, the farmers, the Dalits, the Adivasis, how they are participating in the politics more. It is no more a upper caste or upper echelon or the elites politics for the democracy. Democracy is for the all, and it has been spreading slowly. Yesterday's those 2 discussions, we started the Kaladhwanis, this lecture series, beautifully. Today concluded
with the resistance and alternative by Kavita ji, where she very clearly articulated the direction for our journey. Every moment, no resistance is futile. No resistance. Each and every moment, all these Kaladhani's movement, Kaladhani for last 40 years, the same is the part of that resistance. One after another, Kaladhani with its small influence, with its small language, Prashantoda, and before we joined, many people, they continued that journey, and that is what we have to do. That is what the future of the other people, other groups, whoever is present here, they have to understand. Today's these two lectures, when Pankaj was telling a very interesting way of looking at science. Because when we are looking step by step, the economics, the media, the role of media in the democracy, how economics is playing with the democracy and our lives. And today in the morning he shown how science, when we are talking about the Nicobar, when he talked about the Nicobar Islands thing, many of us did not know it. So knowing it, bringing it to the front, making people aware, thinking of the resistance, thinking of the technology itself. It is not sacrosanct that what scientists have told. It is important to look into the lives of the scientists, the work of the scientists in a different way. When a country, when a mobile phone, we are looking at the mobile phone, one icon where it will be. For that, people spend crores of billions of dollars. Then a farmer do not know how to plow his farmland. They are using these plows for centuries. And now when it comes back, when it bounces back, the technology, then you see the harvester and large machines for farming, which for the marginal and small farmers it is not. It remembers me when Professor Cecilia was telling that in Small is Beautiful book, E.F. Schumacher had once talked about the intermediate technology. The importance of technology, what he was showing in his film about the wheels and the things. So, lastly, it is a really great 2 days where it ended with our direction, our thinking, and I hope that these 2 days what Kaladhani has offered under the leadership of Prashantada will be remembered. আমার মনে হয় যে এই দুটো দিন যেটা আমরা কাটাতে পারলাম এখানে এই প্রশান্তদার এবং কালধ্বনির আমাদের সবারই কালধ্বনির সমস্ত ইয়েতে, তো সেই জন্য আমাকে যে দায়িত্বটা দেওয়া হয়েছে যে ভোট অফ থ্যাঙ্কস দেওয়ার, এটা একটা রীতি, হয়তো সেই রীতিটা হয়তো মানতে হবে, কিন্তু সেইটা করার আগে আমি আবার সবাইকে বলবো এই সবার উদ্দেশ্যে কে কাকে ভোট অফ থ্যাঙ্কস দেবে। থ্যাঙ্কসের উদ্দেশ্য হচ্ছে, ধন্যবাদ জ্ঞাপনের উদ্দেশ্য হচ্ছে একজন আরেকজনকে দেয়। এখানে তো দুপক্ষ নেই, এখানে তো একটাই পক্ষ আছে, যে পক্ষ এই পুরো পরিধিটার মধ্যে অন্য পক্ষ যে দেবে ধন্যবাদ আর যে নেবে। আজকে যদি আমরা ভাবি যে কবিতা দি বলবো, I can tell her, and Pankaj ji and Paranjoy Gorthakurta and Professor Samadar are out of Kaladhuni sphere. No, they have become part of our family and we have become part of them. So that is how it should be. But still, since it is a customary practice, so I definitely have to thank. First, I will thank all the audience who has present and make this successful. Without you and becoming part of us, it will be definitely not possible. Then I will definitely thank all our eminent speakers, starting from Paranjoy Gorthakurta, Professor Ranbir Shamadar, Professor Pankaj Seksaria, and Professor and Kavita Srivastava. They have not only enlightened us or taught something, they have forced us to think inside, deeper, not just for the sake of a lecture series and forgetting it. So I'm really grateful to them. And now I always give thanks to another group, the Center for the group which released the Center for Studies of Borders and Movements, Sipraji and others who has come here and really before Pankajji's this book release for Bengali version of Great Andaman Betrayal, it was a great learning for all of us. We are grateful to them for their presence and illuminating us for their this thing. And lastly, the Bhomra group and Blind Opera members who came here and who has made their presence felt. Bhomra group's singing yesterday's songs were extremely well and well accepted by all of us. In spite of the great loss of Shibudas not being there, leading the team, it was a great honor, and we are really grateful to them, we are thankful to them. And we definitely thanks the Alumni Association, Jadavpur University Alumni Association for providing their space, and with that space we could make this take presence. And lastly, I will thank to all from my own side, not from the Kaladhwani side, all my brothers and friends of Kaladhwani who has made this possible, made this successful, and this event become very happening and make people think of. This has proved that over the years, Kaladhwani, the name itself proved its mettle. Now, after thanking, I thank Partho and his team for this thing, for digital presence in this thing, making this incident digital presence. And lastly, before I have an announcement to make, we ask all of you to give standing ovation to our light, this thing, to Prashanto Chattopadhyay. And to this, I cannot say this is a facilitation, but a felicitation. But I can definitely say, from the Kaladhwani family, we brought a symbolic thing to him, symbolic present to him. One is অসত্য ট্রি, একটা অসত্য গাছ ওনাকে দেওয়া হচ্ছে, কারণ যে গাছের নিচে আমরা এত বছর ধরে থেকেছি, আর অপরাজিতা দিয়ে এটা আমাদের জন্য, তার সঙ্গে মিষ্টি রইল যেটা বাঙালিদের। থ্যাংক ইউ অল।
কালধ্বনি যারা এখানে প্রেজেন্ট আছে, পঙ্কজ সাকসেদিয়া কালকে দুপুরবেলা ফাঁকা আছে, আমরা তাকে নিয়ে একবার বসতে পারি, এটা কি সম্ভব?
সম্ভব।
টাইম
Anytime, I'm free all day.
অল ডে,
Anytime in the day.
এনি টাইম।
So whatever is convenient for all of you, you can let me know and I can come.
Yes, we can go there in the Kaladhwani and at what 2 p.m.
2 p.m. is fine.
হ্যাঁ, আমি থাকছি, তুমি থাকবে, ঠিক আছে, আমি থাকবো। আমরা যারা থাকবো একটু কথাবার্তা বলবো। ও এটা একটা করবো, একটা হলো তাহলে ওকে তো 10টার সময় বেরিয়ে যেতে হচ্ছে না ওখান থেকে। হ্যাঁ, মানে বঙ্গল কোথায় যাবে? আমি কথা বলতে কত বলে দেবো। কালকে বাড়ি যারা